Many founders are trapped in the daily gears of running their own business. Today's conversation is part two of our deep dive conversation with my business partner, Brian Albers, on how to break that cycle. Together, we explore how to transition from founder dependency to a model driven by partner led execution. This is Freeing the Founder. Love to shine the spotlight now, the other side of the lens or the other side of the spectrum, and that is from the employee's perspective or the team member's perspective. This is the seat that you and I have both sat in as well, serving founders for many years. And one of the things that I often think back to is the conflict of or the issue of the founder is not willing to let go. Because unless he or she is willing to let go, we're not able to grow and scale and do all the things that we intend to do. And so my question for you is, what's the middle ground? Is that more of a myth, or is that warranted, or is it misunderstood? What's your sense, having lived in both camps and both seats?
Well, you can look at it as a crawl, walk, run approach. You're not just going to let everything go all at once. You might start off with smaller baby steps, if you were, and, give those opportunities to someone and see how they perform and see how you get along and work with them. And I mean, that's what we do in our model, right? We have first, it's just, we want to listen and understand and take the time to see what's going on in your business. And then month to month after that, how do we then keep earning your business as fractional, as embedded, as your partner, so that you gain that trust. And that's one nice thing about that model is you're not committed to a 12-month software, that you have, we're here for us to make the biggest impact. It does take time, right? But you're going to know within the first couple of weeks, first couple of months, if we're really who we say we are, and we believe we're going to be that.
I find it interesting because, even though you and I are very clear on what the problem is and how to service that problem, there are multiple lenses and seats that are culminating towards this core. And so if we look at it from the employee standpoint, in your opinion, Brian, what are their stressors? What are their motivators? What are their aspirations that you believe a founder or a healthy leadership team should be aware of as they're looking to make this pivot from lifestyle business into a scalable business that is scaling towards an exit?
Yeah, and I experience this myself, and I see this with teams. They want to know where we're going. Where are we headed? What's the vision? Where's the path? What are we trying to do as a business, right? They're not going to spend the time on your mission and vision, but they want to know what your mission and vision is. They want to know why we're doing this. And then they want to know what's their role in that. How can they come along with that role to help achieve that vision? How do they progress to the next level in the organization? What's their growth path? How do they get the opportunities to do more? And then in turn, the compensation behind that, right? Those are big triggers. And as employees, it's that what's in it for me. I need to know where I'm going. I need to know how I'm involved. I need to know what my growth potential is. And then let's go. Let's do it. So let's be clear on my role. Let's be clear on the expectations. And let's be able to have open and honest feedback with each other. Because without it, it's hard to move forward. What you see as an employee on the ground, your leadership team, the founder, whoever needs to know about that. And it's up to them to make the strategic choices based on that. And sometimes it's going to be what the team directs, and sometimes it's going to be a different direction. But if we know the why behind it and why we're heading that way, then that path's easier to follow.
Love that response, Brian. And it makes me appreciate more the word you used earlier. Right? You referred to yourself as a bridge, or our service at Pemorations is really that bridge between the founder, CEO, and the rest of the team. And of course, That's not to preclude or exclude the vision and strategy, but I love the word bridge for all the reasons you had just mentioned. And inevitably, though, there needs to be a catalyst in order for that bridge to be created, either internally or with a, with a service provider like Pemorations. So, what is the catalyst? What needs to happen? What's the trigger event? And what sets the ships in the right direction?
Well, you just sit down in a room and have a conversation, or unfortunately over Zoom maybe, but you have to really understand and get inside of what really is making that founder tick, where they want to go, what they want to do, and help them build that vision. Because a lot of times we're not 100% sure, and that's completely normal. I've helped many founders really focus in on what that vision and where they want to be because they're like, well, I don't know. I just know I want to grow and I love what I'm doing and I want to make this a better place and I want to service our customers, but ultimately have that conversation. All right, well, what does that truly mean as an outcome? Where do you see that 5 year outcome? Where do you see us in 3 years and in 1 year? And really everything's changing so fast, having those points and then each quarter reviewing those. It's like, is this still the right path? Right? Is this still our 1 year outlook? Are we still able to do this quarter to quarter? Are we still going forward? And having that communication then back to the team so they know, like, we don't want to pivot every quarter on what we're doing, but we know that we need to be moving. Sometimes we need to change and adjust based on how fast this world works and how adaptable are people to be able to do that, because it is a bit of a challenge, because who knows what the world's going to even look like a year from now. And that's a huge change from when I was younger, maybe when you were younger too. But we had more insights and out into 5 year, not more insights, but we had more consistency of what might happen in 5 years. We don't have that consistency anymore.
I think that fits. Well, I don't think, I know that fits everything that I believe in too, because a lot of the clients you and I serve through Pemorations, and certainly just friends, supporters, and colleagues we have in our network. I'm speaking for you, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I personally see how it's so normal and natural for a founder's first tendency is DIY it. Let me just figure it out because this is how I've always done it. And frankly, I don't blame them. Because if they were able to make a multiple $1 million per year company just by DIYing it, of course you're going to leverage that tendency. But there does come a point where that DIY tendency starts to fall flat, and they come to a realization that, oh, maybe I can't do it all myself. Just speak about that, Brian, from your perspective. I'm sure you've seen this before. Uh, is this natural? Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or is it more of a rite of passage?
We've seen a couple different paths with founders. There's the one who, I can't do it all. Someone come please do it. I don't want to deal with it. I need somebody. Right. That's just kind of their natural inkling is they're going to go in that direction and they're ready for someone to come in. And then there's the ones that, yeah, it's a little bit more challenge that I need to let go and let somebody do, because they're going to do it different than me. And part of that bridge and part of that communication is letting the founders know that it's okay that someone does it a little bit different than you or completely different. What's important is the results we get. So if there is a project or a customer that we're working on, we need to define what are the outcomes for success, right? What are the goals we want to have for the customer, for the employee? Did you meet those goals? Was the customer happy? Were we successful in that implementation? That's what we want to focus the founders on, not what were the every itty bitty little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on and on steps where they followed exactly the way I did. Because there's more than one way to get the job done. But at the end of the day, if we're doing it within our values, we're doing it within our morals, right? We want to make sure we're honest and have integrity, but we're getting the outcomes we want and the inputs we need are there, then it's okay if it's done differently. And that's sometimes hard for people to understand that or to manage that. you know, and that also then helps with scalability. If there's a better way to scale and do it differently, can we then replicate that, right? It's not just always the same way.
Yeah. I've enjoyed the conversation because we've kind of I feel like we're going round robin. Of course, you and I are sharing our own personal insights and experiences, but we're trying to understand the problem from the founder's lens, but also the team's lens. Inevitably, when we go back to the bridge, I believe that bridge is the embedded leadership partner that you had mentioned earlier. And so for folks listening and watching this point of the conversation, what is an embedded leadership partner, Brian?
Embedded leadership partner is someone who is working one-on-one with the founder to drive the business forward. So we want to do is what I refer to as divide and conquer. There's certain aspects the founder is good at and is driving at, and they need someone in to come in at number two to take care of the other parts of the organization. And not just as completing the processes, not just as completing the systems and the tools, but really coming in as that advisor, that mentor, that true partner that the founder can speak to and talk about the true business challenges and issues that they don't have anyone else to talk to about. There's certain things you just can't talk with your team about, but you need to have someone who understands the business that's invested in your business as well, and they are able to then help execute that vision. So that embedded partner is not just a consultant. They're not just a fractional CEO. They're not just bringing in a structure. They're there because they want to drive that business as your partner. You just don't have to invest in them as a partner in your business.
What I love about our model, and you and I know this, we call it the force multiplier model. I love that there's three layers to it. Yes, there's the main embedded leadership partner who is there as the founder's day-to-day contact and day-to-day POC. And they're there to, their job and focus is really the strategic execution. And then you and I, in our model, we also have the strategic oversight partner. And that's the person who is in charge of understanding the vision and making sure that the execution aligns with that vision. And the third partner within this force multiplier model is the visionary partner. And Brian, you often play that, and you're in the right seat for that. And that person's job is to make sure that there's coaching, mentorship, and guidance for the founder to remain focused on that vision. I think there's if there's one core benefit that's coming to mind right now with this force multiplier model is that there's safeguards in place. I think that if I were to put myself in the shoes of many of our clients, if not all of our clients, the last thing that they want is to be trapped or find themselves trapped with one person who may or may not take that company and that founder's vision down a rabbit hole that is appropriate, not appropriate. What I'm getting at is with three people, you have those safeguards and you have the experience, the collective experience of three partners, not just one, but those three partners are all focused on one goal, and that is the founder's vision, freeing up the founder so the founder can focus on growth, strategy, so on and so forth. So I put that on the table because that's why I've always appreciated it. And from your perspective, Brian, early days because we're in year two of Pemorations, but what kinds of positive feedback have you either heard or anticipate as a result of a model like that?
Well, I think one of the biggest benefits is just that you're getting a firm, you're not getting a person. You're not just hiring one person to come in. You're getting a whole firm and a whole team of expertise. So if we have that embedded leader working day to day, we have other people on our team that they can go to for advice that might have a little bit more experience in one area or another. So that's extremely helpful. And then, obviously having you there on a weekly basis, they're getting other insights and other eyes on what's happening in the organization and making sure it's aligned. And then one of the things that you tell me that you use the word superpower. So humbly, I'm going to use that. And I appreciate that. It's just asking the hard questions and being direct and making sure we are fully honest with where we're headed and where we're going, and that we're not being whimsical, or we're not trying to pivot too much, or we have the right path, or we're doing what we're saying. And the whole team then is that accountability coach that comes along with it. And I think that's a big piece of what's missing a lot of times in organizations, is the accountability and someone willing to step up and say, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. Or wait a minute, I think it's a bit of fluff here that we're talking about. How do we actually drive to real goals and real metrics and stay on path and not lie to ourselves? There are teams that have been working together for years, and you come in and you listen to their conversations, and you pick up on little nuances like, oh, I don't think they're being honest with themselves. They just skirted over a very important issue, probably something they've been doing for years that they don't even realize they're doing. And we catch those items, and we have a discussion about it and open them up, because that may be the ultimate bottleneck that's holding them back. So let's find those, let's discover those gaps, and let's fix those so we can drive forward.
Yeah, that is hands down, Brian, your superpower. And it's not to say that you don't have other strengths. I really admire that about you. And I've shared this multiple times, and I'll say it again publicly. Um, you know, my curse and blessing is sometimes my thought process meanders, right? So it allows me to think outside of the box, but sometimes the answer is right inside the box and it's right under my nose. And Brian's so good at even challenging my thought process and my thinking. And he basically just says, Randall, it's right there in front of you. And I say, oh, yeah, it is right there. So just a nod and double clicking on the term superpower. And I think by having a team approach, you leverage all those individuals, all those partners, superpowers. Another thing I'll put on the table is, and this was a conversation I just had before our meeting right now, Brian. Um, Somebody had asked me why we decided to go down this force multiplier model or this team model. And my response at that time was, well, if I had to shape, mold the perfect founder, the founder, yes, would have accountability or the capability to hold people accountable, but the perfect founder would have the ability to vision, would have the ability to do the strategy and also execute the strategy. So, you know, in a long roundabout way, it's really three layers. But here's the kicker: no one's perfect.
Well,
And
that's
while it's
just it.
possible,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
just saying that's
go ahead.
just it. I don't know everything. I haven't experienced everything. I've experienced a bunch. I've been around for a while. I don't have any gray hairs, maybe some white ones popping up, but there's always learning is constant, right? There's always something to learn. There's always something to get better at and understand. And by bringing in elements of different individuals, again, getting the firm approach, you're not just getting an individual, and then being able to pull in other expertise on the team, you're getting a huge, huge amount of expertise and knowledge to best drive your organization forward so you can move faster. You can avoid paying dumb taxes. Like, there's things that we don't need to pay for because we know people who's experienced. How did they go through it? What did they do? And how can we take advantage of that? And I think that's a big part of this force multiplier model, is that we're able to help that founder move faster, make smarter decisions, and give them the honest feedback of where we're going or how to get there.
I was just asked this question earlier today. You and I, Brian, just spent the larger part of an hour or close to an hour talking about all the reasons why a founder could fit and our model could fit within a founder organization. But let's talk about what doesn't work. In your opinion, what is a clear sign that our service or model will not fit, and vice versa to a founder-led company?
Yeah, I mean, if you have someone as a number two today who just is executing and you have that full trust and ability, like, hold on to them. I've seen number twos who are amazing within companies. I've seen number twos who shouldn't be number twos, right? They're glorified manager, and there's nothing wrong with being a glorified manager, but they're not going to really help you drive the company forward. But if you have someone in place who's driving the company, meeting your goals, setting the expectations, setting your team up for scale, obviously Yeah, harness that, cherish that, and do whatever you can to keep that person because they're amazing, and that's the kind of person you want to have on your team. The other part of the question, or maybe the second answer of why not to hire us is if you want to have a lifestyle business or you're just not ready to let go of the reins and to have someone step in and have that control. And if you're too concerned about being burned in the past and having bad experience, you need to heal that and to get to a place where you are ready and don't rush into to something else if you're not there yet as how you want to build your business because there's a million things that you need to take on and a million things you're responsible for. If you're just not ready, that's okay. That's okay.
Part of your answer was precisely the way that I answered the same question, but you answered it more eloquently. So, just listening to your response, Brian, this is what's coming to mind. We should probably talk about what it looks like from the team member's perspective. Once the founder or owners have made a very clear decision that they want to scale their business and grow it, what's the what's the decision that the team member needs to make? Because they too need to make a decision, and it may be part growth, maybe part taking on new responsibilities and roles. At the end of the day, it's not just the founder that needs to change; it's the entire organization. So, talk to me about the mental, just what's going on in the team member's mind.
Yeah, most of the time, and I don't think of one that hasn't happened this way, but that individual or individuals welcome it with open arms. You said it earlier, they want to grow. They want to have someone who can help advise them. They want someone who has the expertise, the experience of been there, done that to help them be better at their job. Most people will be humble at heart and want to learn. And so stepping into that role, they're relieved. They want to, oh, you've worked with founders before. You understand how to bridge that gap. You understand how to take their language and put it into our language. You know how, systems need to be built and how scaling actually happens across an organization from capacity planning to HR benefits to financial forecasts, right? All those components are normally going to help them grow and be better at what they do. And then a lot of times we'll figure it out with the founder, but is there a succession plan with that person? Is that person? Or who is that person in the organization? And then start building them towards being that successor and giving them that growth path and letting them see, hey, we think you someday can be the COO. We think one day you could even run the company as CEO and be in charge. But I'm here, we're here, you have a team here to help you get there. Like people are open to that. People want to learn, people want to grow, they want to be better. They have more opportunity to make money, and all those components go together.
Yeah, there's definitely some instances, emphasis on some, where some teammates do not want that change and do not want to grow, but that's
Sure.
far and few. Overwhelmingly, I do agree with you where it's kind of like this huge weight is lifted off the entire team, including the founder. And it's so intriguing to me personally to have been a part of taking that tarp off are the words that come to mind. And it's interesting how so many times the people within that organization, including the founder, just want the same thing. And it's kind of like we go in there and we just blow the lid off of it. That's quite literally been under their nose the entire time, but not any one of them understood how to approach the conversation. And I say this and I submit this to you because back to our strategic positioning around embedded leadership partners, the core word there is leadership. And it's so easy for operations people or operators to be kind of sequestered to, oh, you're the data people and you're the, you know, project management people. That's part of it. It's really the leadership contingent. It's really harmonizing and unifying the people with the vision, with the strategy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of firms out there, a lot of experts who help with leadership and do a great job. There's structures you can follow that are really great and interesting and will do a great job. And then there's individuals who can execute on those elements. The data you talked about, right? The systems. But what we're bringing to the market is the ability to bring all three of those together all at once. And that's what makes us unique.
Brian, I can talk to you for hours about this stuff, and I know we're gonna schedule a round two, but I'll leave it at that because I don't think I would have been able to close it as eloquently as you, maybe as in our closing. I'll take that back. I will ask you one more question. In closing, Brian,
Is it a hockey question? Because I know of being you're in Canada, so I figured you'd have a couple hockey questions in there. What do you got? What do you got for me? What is
it's
how's
not a hockey
offsides work?
question, but it is a coaching question. What would be
Mm,
your number one tip that's top of mind for you that you would happily share with any and all founders?
number one tip for any founders:
Mhm.
there's someone out there as a partner that can help you drive your organization forward. You have to take the time to find them, but you can't do it all yourself. And deep down, I think everyone knows that we can't do it all ourselves. But there is someone that can help drive, whether it's a coach, an advisor, embedded partner like ourselves, that will help you drive that organization forward. And once you find them and you can rely on them, hold on to them because they're worth their weight in gold.
True. Find the yin to your yang. Appreciate you, Brian. Thanks for the time.